Episode 5 gave us a lot of big moments, but one of the most surprising was the confirmation that Jax and Ragatha are actually brother and sister. And if that sounds like some wild fan theory cooked up by shippers, just stick with this video, because the more you see, the more it starts to make sense. Rumors about a connection between these two have been around since the pilot, but most people brushed them off until episode 5 dropped. And let's be real, we all saw one of Jax's biggest fears.
What is this? Why'd you do that? Can you get that thing away from me?
Are you afraid of corn?
No.
At first I thought Jax choosing corn as his biggest fear was just some weird joke, and honestly it did seem like that for a long time. But then Goose explained it on Tumblr. Turns out Jax is scared of corn because it reminds him of some farm. Now that alone didn't mean much, at least not until we ended up in the bar and Ragatha started talking.
I was born into a fairly wealthy family. We had a large property with horses and chickens, and my mother, my mother was a lot. I worked in real estate for a bit until I ended up here. I'm sure she doesn't miss me. I certainly don't miss the yelling, and braiding, and guilt tripping, and the... Yeah, just kind of a farm girl. Nothing too out of the ordinary.
And this is where things get real, because we notice something that's just too obvious to ignore. Ragatha said she used to live on a big farm, while Jax is scared of corn because it reminds him of a farm. You could call that a coincidence, sure, but then why did Jax react so genuinely to Ragatha's story about her real life? It felt like he was remembering not just his own past, but hers too. But there's one part of her monologue that most people missed, and it's crazy important. I'm talking about Ragatha's mom, who's very likely also Jax's mom. From what we learned, she was super strict and didn't really care much about how her kids felt. That alone could explain a lot about how both Ragatha and Jax act. Think back to episode 5, it's immediately obvious how much Ragatha gets thrown off by anything that doesn't fit the rules.
What the frick?
Huh? Check this out. You're out, dumb.
Damn it.
It's pretty clear that their mom's harsh parenting messed Ragatha up in a big way. She turned into someone who's way too obedient, constantly puts insane pressure on herself, and worst of all, she's always trying to find something positive even when there's literally nothing good there at all.
Well, that sure could have gone better. But I'm sure the next adventure will be less, what? Hey, Pomni, remember when Kaufmo smashed me against the walls and I got all jumbled up? All things considered, that was pretty funny, right?
No, not really.
Oh, yeah, no, sorry. That was probably pretty traumatic for you.
And that's exactly what annoys Jax, because even though they grew up in the same house, he sees all of this in a completely different way. Remember how I kept saying that the evil versions of the characters are like mirrors of their real emotions? Evil Jax is this super anxious, insecure guy, and honestly that's probably who he really is. Deep down he just hides it behind all the sarcasm and attitude. Like take that high school adventure for example.
What is this? I don't like this.
Oh, can it? At least we finally have one that's by someone else.
Yeah, there's nothing more fun than being back in school.
Sure, you could say he was just trying to act cool like school's lame, and guys like him don't need it. But what if the truth is, he didn't want to take part, because in real life, he was actually a total loser at school, and being in that kind of environment just makes him feel super uncomfortable. Just realized I never actually explained why Jax is scared of corn. We don't know the full truth yet, but judging by how intense his reaction was, this plant clearly ties to some seriously traumatic experience. So maybe his mom used corn as some twisted form of punishment, like beating him with cobs or forcing him to eat a crazy amount of them whenever he disobeyed. And at this point, we can pretty confidently say Jax and Ragatha are actual siblings, but that's just the beginning. Just think back to how they act around each other throughout episode 5.
Does she think hanging out with Zubul is gonna magically fix that?
Maybe she just doesn't want to hang out with someone who's mean to her all the time.
She likes when I'm mean to her, though. Hey, I ain't forcing anything on you.
And then you just act like you never do anything wrong and everybody loves you, when in reality you just fuck everything up for everyone else!
It's pretty clear that Ragatha reacts to Jax way differently than she does to anyone else, and it makes sense. They grew up in the same environment, had the same strict upbringing, but while Jax broke out of that box and turned all that childhood trauma into harsh, even cruel behavior, Raggy stayed stuck inside her own mental cage. She never moved past those old patterns, so seeing Jax act out and be so different totally throws her off. That's why we see her either snapping at him or showing these weirdly intense emotions when it comes to Jax.
Not anymore. Oh, wait, no. I'm sorry. I wasn't talking about that. That wasn't meant to be.
No apologies for me? This is so sad.
I'm sorry, Jax. For bringing up that thing earlier.
We also know Ragatha worked in real estate, and I mentioned before that characters get into the digital circus through some abandoned building that probably houses servers, computers, and headsets acting as gateways. Since real estate agents sometimes check out old, abandoned places for reconstruction and resale, Ragatha could have found this spot and told Jax about it, and maybe he suggested they see what happens if they jump into the game. If that sounds weird, just remember Kinger and his wife, who also ended up in the digital circus together. Let's also remember Jax's friend, who's no longer in the digital circus. That means after they got trapped in this cursed game, Jax managed to find a friend while Ragatha basically wandered alone most of the time. Sure, she might have talked to someone here and there, but deep down, she was lonely. And it's pretty likely she played a part in Ribbit turning into an abstracted monster. They both ended up in the circus, and Jax was basically the only close person Ragatha had, but he actually ditched her for his new friend. And if you think back to that scene...
Remember when you got high at McDonald's and told Gangle to kill herself? No, that was funny.
What? I did not say that. I think. No.
It's clear right away Raggy never said anything like that. Sure, she told Gangle some pretty harsh stuff, but nothing like that. So it's very likely those words were meant for Ribbit, and after that, he probably started doubting himself and all that, which eventually led to him turning into a monster. Maybe that's why we see tears in her eyes when she apologized to Jax for bringing up Ribbit. So, if we sum up episode 5 through the lens of Jax and Ragatha being siblings, I'm more than sure that everything about how they interact and their backstories in the real world is basically screaming it. But like I said before, this isn't just something new. There were plenty of hints dropped in earlier episodes too. Like, remember that scene from episode 3?
You know how men are. Always having the silliest priorities.
Don't I know it?
Just pay attention to how warmly Ragatha says those words. Despite everything that's happened between them in past episodes and probably even in real life, she still clearly cares about Jax. No matter what, she tries to support him and kinda guide her younger brother through life, like in this moment right here.
I'm so unbelievably disappointed right now.
Well, maybe there'll be blood, death, and violence in the next adventure.
Or like when she opened up under the effect of that stupid sauce.
Yo, Jax. I hate you, but I don't want you to hate me. Is that weird?
You're drunk or something.
Oh yeah.
And there's a bunch more scenes like that, which I already talked about in one of my older videos. So if you're down to dive even deeper into this theory, go check it out. As always, I'm waiting to hear what you think down in the comments, and I'll see you soon.